Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 7 of season 2 of the Wayfarer podcast. It's good to be here.
Great to be here.
Yeah, we've been going into quite the subject, some very relevant stuff. Let's see, we've covered. You guys got to help me out here. Temptation, doubt, fear. There was one more.
Pride.
Yes. And tonight we're going into Malaise. I would say something that is relevant very much in all of our lives. Something I would say I personally battle quite often, and I see people battling it, and lots of people don't even have a name for it. But before we jump into that, how's 2025 looking for you guys? You optimistic, or maybe you screwed it up already? Missed your
I feel like it's been a crazy 2 weeks of my life. I don't know why, but January is always so, like, I have so many expectations for myself, and in turn I put a lot of pressure on myself. And wow, that'll be perfect conversation for Malaise. But 2025 has been really good at the same time. Like, really good stuff is happening, but a lot of stuff's happening, so it could be overwhelming. But I don't know. What about you, Zach? How's your 2025?
2025 is awesome. I mean, we're just into it, but it feels good. I don't know if you've ever felt that with it. There's like years that just feel like this is going to be a climb, or this is going to be, and who knows what'll come. But there's a bit of optimism. I think there's a bit of excitement in the air. I like the number 25 a lot for some reason. So it's just fun. 25 is great. So far, it's awesome. Riley?
Yeah, I'm ready for I don't really know what 2025 looks like, to be honest. I'm kind of just like sitting here patiently at the beginning of the year. Like, everyone's like working on their goals for the year, and I'm like, I don't know what 2025 looks like. And I have a hard time like coming up with goals for the year right now because of that. So we'll see as we get more into the year, I'll have a better idea of what the year looks like, and we'll go from there. But it's going pretty good so far. Just had my birthday last week, so that was fun. And it's been a good year so far.
Yeah, it was your birthday when we did our last live event.
Yeah.
That was so fun.
Sung happy birthday to me, and I
didn't
know. Like that at all.
I did a whole birthday speech, and Riley was like, not loving that.
There's a reason I went into the production world. It's so I can hide behind like a booth, and you put me up front and sung happy birthday to me, and I was like,
that's great.
This is awful.
We want to show you off. What can I say?
Great. That's great. That actually is super. I was curious. We didn't get to be there. I wasn't at the last live event, but I've been talking to people about those, just the regular cadence of life together. And there's people who are, it seems like such a small thing to curate space like that, because the assumption is, oh, that's just obvious, right? Everybody has that. And from my space, it feels like that, because you've got a family, there's a whole world of things happening all the time. But it seems to be, and I was curious, I wanted to ask you this, we'll get to Malaise, I want to get to that, but I was curious, it seems to be between 22 and 27, I'm hearing more and more from people that it's not as obvious as we assume it to be, that community is just easy to find. It seems like I'm hearing that post-college, post-grad school, kind of pre-family, that there's actually kind of a desert there. And we knew that with COVID, and we heard the stats on loneliness and all that. But what do you think? Is that true? Like, your experience in our city, and then maybe beyond that, if you have family, friends in different parts of the country? I'm curious if that's true.
Yeah, I would totally say it's true. Even being fresh post-college grad, like, I graduated only I think 6 months ago at this point. And it's really hard to find like-minded young people to connect with. But I will say, through the church, it makes it a lot easier to find people who immediately you have the same standing ground with. And that's something I really love about the live events. It's that we've only had how many have we had? 4? 3? 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And we've already gotten this regular group of people coming together. And I mean, when we were singing happy birthday to Riley, everyone was singing along, and we're really creating this group of friends. And it's really exciting to see, because I mean, we have this group here in the podcast, but then to see it extended in a real life place it's really encouraging as a young person who likes to make friends. there's lots of other people out there who feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
So I love it.
I have to give on that note that just like a shout out to the 100 Shares Grant Committee and the people who make it possible for us to curate that kind of space, because we take it for granted. I don't know that it's a night like that where you have a room full of people. We just had a podcast today. We were talking to somebody who's in the human trafficking space to try to fight that scourge of human trafficking. And she was saying that it's easy to disappear when people don't know your name.
Wow.
And I thought, well, for sure that applies to human trafficking, but I think it applies, like, you can be so lonely in a world that feels so connected. So I think you're right. You were about to say something. Has that been true in your experience post-college, post?
Yeah, I graduated right kind of when COVID was ending. Things were starting to go back to normal, and it definitely has been hard. I do find there's a lot of opportunity, though. There is a lot of events. There's a lot of young adult groups if you try to find it, but it can be hard to kind of break in and for those to be your people. And I think part of it might be just like you have to put in work, and sometimes that work can feel like disingenuous, like it should be easy. But also I think that everyone kind of feels the same way, so it's just something feels like it's missing, but it's hard to put your finger on exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
true.
we talked about this last week at breakfast because you were like asking about that, and you were like, "Is like where do people like go to hang out and meet?" And it's like I was like, there really isn't like a healthy spot, you know, besides church, but you have to be vulnerable to go to church and like step out. And I was like, the only like places people meet like my age are like at a bar, at a club. Like those are the places people go hang out at on a weekend and meet people, make friends. But inside that's like the hookup culture, and it's just not healthy at all. And so you were like, well, what does a healthy like space look like? And I was like, actually, I don't know what a healthy space looks like to like meet people. And then we talked a little bit about the Wayfarer events, and it's like, yeah, that's like a good that's a good space to like meet people. But I think it's two-faced, because it's like, yes, there's not like necessarily that many like healthy, like good places to meet like-minded people, but also you have to like, when there is those spaces, you have to be vulnerable and like engage in those. It's like I find myself so many times not engaging with people. Like there was maybe 6 or 7 brand new people I'd never met at the Wayfarer event. It's like I talked to them for like 30 seconds, and it was like, it takes like, I have to be vulnerable to like go and actually engage and like try to build friendships with people. And if you're not, you're missing the opportunity still.
Yeah. And it takes time. I think you even may have hinted at that word, just like you have to keep coming back. And I think that, again, thank you to 100 Shares, to everybody who partners with us to help try to create these spaces. Because I think, again, we hear it from the Surgeon General that they literally publish a study saying that's the number one health concern for America, loneliness. We hear it from people in this space that something happens. It's just a desert for connection or meaningful connection, embodied connection. Riley, to your point, the alternative is, of course, there's an established rhythm of going out on Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. But really, if you don't have family, if you don't have other commitments, you get done with work, you get done working out, and on a Tuesday night, you want to go connect with friends.
Yeah.
And American culture, most of our cities are not designed in the way that it's walkable like it is in maybe some smaller places. And so even that, we're having to fight over these friction points. Shout out to Buddy Brew for giving us a home base, because I think it takes time and consistency in the same place. Like, right, for you to over 6, 7, 8, 10 months be able to walk in and be like, these are my people. I mean, that doesn't just happen, and it needs place, it needs people, it means effort, it takes resource. Yeah.
And without that, I think that's kind of what we're talking about tonight, is when you don't have your people and your community, and you're going months or years where you feel alone, like you're not connecting, that's where this sort of feeling of malaise starts to creep in and like hold on to your life. But like, I feel like we should define that, and we should say, what does malaise mean, and how does it affect our lives? So there's malaise, there's also acedia and the noonday devil.
Yep. it's kind of all wrapped in. So maybe we can start with Malaise, and we'll get to all of it because I think it's important. And you described it well. There's like a fog that you just find yourself in, and you're like, wait, hey, how'd I get in this? You can almost imagine like a field that you come out of one landscape and you're just in this no man's land, and you're like, wait, I've been here for how long? And now I'm in the fog. What am I doing? Who am I with? So Malaise, you got a good definition?
Yeah, no, I just had some synonyms because it's like obviously before we did this podcast background, I didn't know what malaise meant. So for like 2 weeks, I was reading on malaise, and we came to the conclusion: unhappiness, restlessness, uneasiness, melancholy, depression. It's like the idea of like just this in between, I would say. And when I was pondering it, I came up with an analogy, and I hope you guys like it and tell me if I'm completely off. So right before you get on a plane, say you have a 3-hour trip that you have to take. You're like, ugh, this is going to be quite the ride, but we're going to do it. So you sit down, you get comfy, you look to your right, you look to your left, you have people around you, you have a TV in front of you, you have these opportunities to stay entertained throughout the flight, but instead you might just choose to be on your phone, or you might choose to just watch endless episodes of Friends throughout the entire flight. So now we're on hour 1. We're starting to feel restless. We're starting to feel uneasy. We just want the flight to be over so we can get where we need to go. But you still got 2 hours left. So we just keep on trying to entertain ourselves. Maybe we try to write a book or something. Like you just try to entertain yourself, but it's empty, and you're like, ugh, I just want to get off. And then all of a sudden this person next to you starts talking to you, and you're like, I don't want to talk to you right now, but you do because you have to keep that surface level conversation going. Now we're at hour 3, the flight's finally over, you get off to your destination, you're exhausted, and at this point you're at your destination, but you're too tired to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I feel that is malaise. A good analogy, and meaning we in our life could be on our way to go somewhere, but there is this in between, especially like where we are in our life, whether it's, I don't know if I should go to grad school, I don't know if I should go towards this job opportunity, or should I maybe pursue this person. There's so many paths we can take, and so many times, even in my own life, I've wanted to snap my fingers and be done with the flight and say, I've fast forward 2 years, I'm finally where I need to be, destination, success, I know my purpose. But it's just that in between of the restlessness, the uneasiness, that I don't have any drive anymore to get there, and I'm now procrastinating, and I would rather scroll on Instagram or TikTok, rest in peace TikTok, for hours. So that, my friends, I think is a good definition of malaise. Would you say I was on the right track?
Yeah, I totally think so. And your description with a plane is eerie.
Yeah.
There's an eeriness to that. And if you think like, okay, now take out the destination and just maybe not know where you're going, not know how long it'll take to get there. You're just kind of in that environment. And I think a lot of people feel that, and that's connected. Maybe we'll dig into acedia, some of the sloth, the real definitions, because it's tied to that. You are on a journey. We are on a journey. And when that starts to get fuzzy and cloudy, it's hard to stay focused on that. And you start getting restless. And I love what you said, that you get off the plane and you're exhausted and you're like, I haven't done anything. Yeah. I may have slept the whole flight, but I just feel awful.
Yeah. And then there's turbulence sometimes, and you're like, oh, I might die.
Yeah. There's that. Yeah.
But then you get there, and some flights don't even have like the tracker. So sometimes you don't even know how long it's going to be until the flight's over. That's
when I hear malaise, my mind goes to like molasses, and I kind of have this visual of like this thick syrup that like seeps into your life, and like you can move, but it's like slowed and kind of and everything's like dark, and you can't quite see everything, and you just feel stuck where you are, and no matter what you try, you can't get out. Like you can't swim in the molasses.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you think
Yeah.
it's rooted in that Malaise molasses?
It's possible.
I-
Glaze.
probably.
Like balsamic glaze.
Think
Malaise.
about that impulse, though. You're both describing it. When you're stuck like that, you just want to be distracted or find something to like get your mind off of that feeling is awful. Yeah.
So then you just start scrolling.
Yeah, we're set up for that to become not just acute, but there to be this absolute epidemic of that. I think so. If you're listening and you're like, "Yep, that's me," yeah, I think it's all of us. I think it's our moment. It's ripe with it.
This is kind of funny, but on topic, I saw it was a video of like a guy like stopping a guy in a car. He was like, hey, let me get a hit, and there's like a saying in the young culture, and that's usually referring to like a vape or something, and he was like, no, let me get a hit, I need a hit of scrolling, and he's like scrolling like reels and stuff.
God.
And I was like, literally we're comparing a drug to a guy scrolling. I was like, there's something wrong with culture when we're at that point where you just need a hit of scrolling on Instagram for 30 seconds, a minute to feel satisfied. And you don't really feel satisfied after.
We're there. Like that's me, man. Like when
Yeah.
I'm bored working and I finish something, I'm like, oh, I need a reward, so I start scrolling, and it's like I can't stop. Like I put the screen time on my dumb YouTube app, and then it
Ignore.
says you've hit your limit, and I enter my passcode and I say approve for 15 more minutes, and it's like I can't help myself. It's like
Repeat.
an addict. It's like I've kicked nicotine was tough to kick, but this is like I'm still addicted to this, and I can't get out.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Jared even talked about he's not here tonight, but he talked about in an email he wrote this week, which was really good job, Jared, about like just the need of. He shared a story about an app. He purchased like a subscription to an app to help him like get off of his phone for screen time, and so like it cuts you off and you can't fix it. And I've seen another similar one where there's like a brick and you put it, it's like a magnet, and you put it on your fridge, and you have to get up and go tap it for your screen time to like ignore the screen time limit. And it's like we're developing things to help us get off our phones and stop scrolling. Like we're at that point where it's obviously affecting negatively.
Yeah.
it's so interesting. I feel like I wonder if it's just our age where we are, because we have that extra like excess of time where it's like you as like a father and a husband and like the leader of this entire ministry, like you don't necessarily have the time to do that. So it's like where we are, we just have this excess, and it's like you can fill it however you want. Like for me, I feel like I have this excess of wanting to strive, and it becomes insanely unhealthy. I was just telling you guys with my 2025, like I have so many expectations of myself that I want to reach by the end of this year, that it's like this pressure is looming over me, and I feel like if I'm not doing something to walk towards it, I'm wasting my time. And so it's like for me, like instead of like sitting and relaxing, I'll just immediately pull out my computer and start like working on something. Like I went on vacation a couple weeks ago, and everyone's in the hotel room like watching a movie, and I'm like, I have my laptop out like working on like stuff, and it sounds good and it sounds like, wow, what a go-getter, but that's not good. Like it's, I don't know, that excess of even like thinking. Like whenever I saw this thing, this yogi talked about one time, and he was saying that people who think or something, it takes them 2 times as long to make a decision, because it's like you just start overthinking. So whereas it might take someone 1 week to do something, it'll take me like 2, because I'll be like, I don't know if I should do this, I don't know if I should do that, and that's where procrastination comes in, and it's just the most annoying thing. Guys, Malaise. What a killer.
Before we move off the phones too, you mentioned like it is hard, I think, for parents, for it doesn't matter what age you are, that the creep of technologies becomes so like enmeshed into our daily life that you are checking your kids, you're making sure you've got apps to monitor your house, your kids, your dogs, your everything is connected. And so the impulse to be drawn back to it is there. And then you're one click away from scrolling and distraction, and it plagues everyone. Andrew Huberman, I think that's right, the Lab podcast, neuroscientist guy, I think I heard him say that he actually has a second phone. So he has a dumb phone that's used, that he keeps during the day to be accessible, but then he has a dedicated phone, or maybe it was one of his guests, has a dedicated phone that he can access social media, and he literally keeps it separate from himself, because he just knows the power is so powerful there, you're going to be there. But I think it's the technology is, I mean, this is why it's so acute right now, because the technology makes it easy to have distraction and entertainment. It's what's underneath it is the malaise, and that's been around forever, right? The noonday devil got that name because, desert fathers in the Christian tradition were saying there's something about that in-between space. You said it really well. And that's why it was noonday. It was something about that middle part where you've awoken and you were clear-minded about what you were called to and what you were aimed at. And then at the end of the night, maybe you'll recalibrate back to that. But midway, Dante says this, right? Midway through the journey, I found myself in a dark wood. That's true of us as creatures. So I think it's important to pull on that thread. But I hear everybody saying they've felt it, right? Like it's a universal, and it's powerful. And when we're in it, the impulse is to get out of it and to distract or numb that. And I think everybody's feeling that.
Completely. And that's why I think, going back to community, what we talked about at the very beginning, like having people who are like-minded in my faith is so important. Because like when I start to really try to take control of that noonday devil, and I'm like, I need to get over this, like I need to take control and like get back into that mindset. Like when I'm relying on my own motivation and encourage, like I flicker off. Like I'm not going to keep that going. But having that like greater being, like being behind everything I'm doing, like for the greater glory of God, that purpose is so much bigger than my own. And so it's like having people at the Wayfarer event or here or just any like church community, it's so motivating to be reminded like, no, Katya, stop trying to take control. Like maybe go sit and pray, like set your intentions forward, or like go read a book or go do something, like do something other than stress and try and take control. So that's what I have to say about that. Now I don't know how you guys feel.
It was interesting as I was just like sitting this past week like with Malaise and like trying to think about it and what does it look like and what even really is it. And like as I was like researching it, it was like there was so little about malaise. It was like there was 3 articles when I Googled it about like malaise in like the health world with like the fatigue and like the possibility of it being a disease. And I was like, but I want like more, like I want the older version of like what is malaise? Take me back to like, I'm sure malaise was around back, in 1600s, 1500s. What was malaise back then? And I like couldn't find anything. And Zach, you found something. You found an article, but it was about Acedia, and it was really good. I mean, that was like once I read that, I was like, okay, I feel like I know what this is. And it like whoever wrote that did a great job because he just went into depth on it. But it was really powerful. And reading about it, I was like, he talked about like the inactive and the active version of Acedia and like going into depth on that. And it was like, okay, I can like read this and know like now I have a tool to be like, all right, that in my life is like Acedia in my life. And I was able to acknowledge it and go through it and like process it and then like figure out, all right, how do we like, what's the solve? Yeah. Like how do we overcome that?
I think that's so good that you bring that up, because if you Google malaise right now, right, you might find that Harvard study that says like it's this generalized anxiety and unwell feeling, and right, we'll start to get all these symptoms up here. But I think a lot of us get left with this, okay, I feel that. What's the cause? Why is that the case? And why is it so acute right now? And I think, Riley, it's well stated, like the root cause. The Christian tradition says there's a clear root cause to that. And the acedia, the slothfulness, the noonday devil is really a failure to become. It's a failure to be who you were made to be, which is the whole wayfaring journey. That's why I could not have been more excited for tonight, because I think it is plaguing all of us. And I want all of us to feel like some freedom from it and to be able to find a clear footing and be able to make our way through it. And the only way is to get right at it and say, no, we are made to be incredibly beautiful creatures made in the image of God and becoming who he's made us to be, right? The glory of God is man fully alive. A fully flourishing Katia or Jonathan or Riley or all of you who are a part of this wayfaring conversation. That's the aim. That's the journey, is to look more and more like who you were made to be, made in the image of God, and kind of being sanctified is the old language, like transforming with ever increasing glory is how the scriptures would say it, into this image and likeness, right? So shedding off these other things and pressing ahead. That is that old language of this pilgrim's journey, right? And a failure to be actively engaged in that becoming that's the sloth. That's the malaise. That journey has become arrested. I've lost sight of it. I no longer know my destination. Now my plane is just circling and I'm no longer going. And that's when I fall victim to that. So here's what's important about this. That's very distinct from being busy, right? And a lot of people think like, oh, well, I don't want to be in Malaise, so I will join 7 different gyms, do, saunas and cold plunge, and then go running and then go out. And like, that's the cure for Malaise. 100% not. That's malaise, right? That's just a different version of scrolling. Because to sit and in solitude and like contemplate who you were made to be, that's actually closer to becoming who God's made you to be than frantically trying to go find your purpose, right? Yeah. So I think getting really clear, you keep saying purpose and you're 100% right on. What is the purpose of my life? It's not tied to your job. It's just not. And your purpose is not to be a great dad or a great mom or a great business leader. Like, we attach it to these things that may or may not be a part of our story. They may or may not happen. We may lose them at some point and they become transient. And the real calling of our life, it remains through all of these things that can be so transient. And that's what's powerful about it, is you were made to be a full version of who God made Katia to be. And that's the aim of your life. And it will take you through vocation and family and maybe raising kids, and who knows where all these ascents and all this journey will take you. But you're always on that journey of becoming who we say every venue is a venue for discipleship. You're always being made to, you're becoming who you were made to be. And all of a sudden, when you know that field that you're in, the fog kind of lifts and you're like, oh, wow. The purpose of my day is to be fully who I am right now. And maybe there's not a lot going on, but I'm present in that. I'm aware of God's presence in that. I'm grateful for this moment that I have. And my questions are, God, where are you calling me? How can I look more like you? Right? Is that helping a little bit as you think about that? Like, what fires off when I'm describing it like that?
I love it. What were you going to say?
So it sounds like it's a shift in perspective. Like you were saying earlier, where our priorities aren't aligned and like we're like becoming a doctor is the thing, but it's not. So it's putting the perspective on God, and then downstream of that is, who am I as a son of God, a creation that he's made, looking through that lens and then taking the action. So is there something that you found helpful to, like, because that seems like it's very powerful and something that you will quickly forget and get sucked right back into the trap. So is there something that is good to like meditate on or put in as a part of your daily prayer or quiet time?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. I think the starting point, right, is Where there's no vision, people perish, or where there's no vision, people dwell recklessly, depending on how you read it in Scripture. There's that clear connection between the aim of my life and the downstream implications in what's happening in the fruit of my life. And so I would say that's why we say the vision is Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, fix your eyes on him. He's the author and perfecter of our faith. So there's this beautiful redemptive relationship we have in Christ that's salvific. And I think a lot of people in the Christian community are like, yes. And we forget that there's also this incredibly beautiful invitation to say that's what it looks like to be human. Like the mature version of Katya. And you can start to get this in Corinthians. Love is patient. Love is, it's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. Like you can just put a name in there. Jonathan is patient. Like we're becoming these type of creatures. So to stay on your point, the vision is Jesus. And I've made a habit and a practice to say, look to him, look like him, look with him. That's the journey. And it just keeps going. That's this whole wayfaring journey, is to keep, the journey is following him. He's ahead of us, and keep your eyes fixed on him, look to him, and be in relationship with God in a very personal way in Christ, and know that you're made to look like him. And that right there is so clarifying, because you're like, okay, yes, within the context of graduate school or my workplace or my relationships, all of those are just other venues where a creature like me embodies this incredible, beautiful gift of being made in the image of God. And how meaningful does that become, right? Because now I'm sitting at a table, just at a coffee shop, having coffee with friends, and I'm mindful of the fact that there's something actively happening right there. Yeah. I'm right there in communion with God, looking more like him. Am I looking more like him? What does that look like? Maybe it's to listen more intently, or to be more careful about somebody else's experience. That's what it looks like. So I'd say keep that vision set and have a really good kind of rubric. It's helpful to say, like, yeah, what is the story of my life? What's the vision is Jesus, to him and like him and with him. That's been helpful. And then there's habits and practices of each of those, right? Like, what is a habit and practice of looking to him, right? To start your day in gratitude, or that creature confession that reminds you, like, hey, you are God, I'm not. Like, I'm a creature made to be in your image. I would say that maybe is the most powerful thing we could do, is to start our day reminding ourselves that we were fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God and given incredible capacity, not to do a job. We're not made for the sake of work, just to work for work's sake. We're beings made to reflect and to express the image of God in the world. Yeah. When you wake up like that, you're like, today's a pretty important day, right? Yeah. Like, let's get about that. Yeah. That's a beautiful calling. I think there's a courageous, like, aspirational calling to that. And that's in every moment. Yeah. And it's not easy, right? There's going to be times where that's very difficult to, like, lean into that story. Yeah. But at least it's clear. And then it's like, well, I can mindlessly scroll and become less human, less of who I was made to be, and just get diminished and diminished and diminished. Yeah. Or I can rise to the occasion and listen to this person that I'm with and focus my attention, even though it's been fractured and fragmented, and it's so hard to stay focused on the words of somebody else, but I'm going to fight that battle, because that's what it looks like to overcome that malaise and be human.
That's great. Wow. My issue, like, with, like, malaise and acidias is not necessarily, like, me saying no to doing those things. It's me saying, oh, I'll do that later. I got that. I'll do that later. Just, like, constantly pushing it off, but still having, like, the desire somewhere in my heart that's acknowledging, like, I want to do it, but I'll get to it later instead. And when I was reading about acedia, I was reading about the purpose of it, and I just wanted to read this because it was really good. The purpose of acedia is to prevent us from becoming fully alive in Christ by communing with God through prayer. The only moment we can pray is the present one. There is no later in the spiritual life. only now. Acedia tries to get us to give up or procrastinate in prayer and in spiritual reading. And I was like,
Oh, I love it.
literally Monday
So good.
afternoon, I was like wandering around my kitchen, like bored. What should I do? Should I go for a walk or something, or should I work more or what? And I was like, oh, I haven't read my Bible yet today. And I was like, oh no, I'll still do that later instead. And it's like, no, like that, like if I'm thinking about it in that moment, like the Spirit, like it's now, there is no later, like it's only in that moment. And it's like, that's the moment that like, obviously the Spirit's telling me like I should read my Bible, I should pray, connect. And instead I'm like still pushing it off and procrastinating about it.
Yeah.
Completely.
We live in such a fragmented vision of what it is to be a human that we've chopped up and said, well, that goes in this box, this goes in this box, these go. And so we box it all out and we're like, well, Sunday between these moments is for this, or maybe my morning time of reflection is for this. But then I get to like 3:00 and what am I supposed to be doing now? Now I'm in that devolved version of a human. It's like, no, it's shatter all that. Like you are a creature on this journey at all times.
Yeah.
And so when you're sleeping, sleep deeply, right? That's a beautiful thing. Like lie down and sleep in peace because God is keeping you safe and keeping watch over you while you rest and your body heals so that you can wake again as this beautiful creature that he's made. That's actually what's happening. And that story has just been erased. No wonder we feel Malaise-ish. It's like, where are we going? Where's this flight going? When's it going to end?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'd say like what sets me into that like malaise, like if I'm on my way somewhere and I know where my destination is, I'm like excited to be sitting in that seat. Like I'm excited. I'm like, oh, these hours couldn't go faster, like whatever. But what is the most distracting for me is say like my side passenger decides to start yelling at me for no reason. And then all of a sudden I forget where I'm going. All I'm thinking about is this person just yelled at me and I don't know what to do about it. And it's like, my point being, I think the most distracting thing when I'm on my way somewhere is people. I think people are so distracting. Like whether it's a client at work or whether it's a random, like I said, the random rampage of a situation or a distraction comes by. It's people are so distracting. And it's like, sometimes I'm like, and that's where the quote unquote roommate in my brain comes out and is like, Katya, you did this to yourself. Katya, you could have avoided this if you were more prudent. Katya, like it's all this stuff that distracts me from my aim of remembering that I am a creature of God and remembering my beauty and my like being. And I just think about all the bad things that I've manifested in my brain.
Yeah.
And so what's the cure to that one?
No. I love that you're describing that because probably everybody listening is like, yes, when you're sitting around with good friends at a good table, having this good conversation, you're listening to this, you're like, okay, yeah, I've got clarity on that. And then tomorrow, it just feels really malaise and annoying and irritating. And I think the solve is, and it's incredible, we're always on that journey, right? So the people around us, they are a part of the journey of us becoming who we were made to be. And as soon as we make that shift, everything changes. Because then we realize like, oh, the people I'm surrounded by, the distractions right now, the needs right now, all of that is there. And there's an actual to those things. And it's an and I'm interacting with these real people and these real circumstances. And what's in play is these are the things that I'll travel through and they are the landscape that God will be using as opportunities for me to become who he's made me to be. And when I realize that, I go, oh, wow, the distracting person next to me is an opportunity for me, for my love to widen out, or my discipline, or that boundary that I've been such a pleaser. I haven't been able to say courageous things, but I'm growing in that area and now I have an opportunity for it. Or that person that's driving me to lose my patience, right? That's an opportunity for patience to rise up. And it's only when we see it like that. That's what I say. Every venue is a venue for discipleship. That's a beautiful, Sean Flannery, a great pastor. We had good conversations. He shared that with me, like, hey, every venue is a venue for discipleship.
Yeah.
Every opportunity. So that's what I would say is sometimes we try to get out of those things or eliminate those things from our life. And I would say that kind of the Jedi judo move is to be like, no, these are the things. And it's going to be Leeds coffee. It's going to be tables like this. It's going to be something that you say that offends or challenges me. And at that moment, I have a chance to ask you about it or to be gracious in that moment or to hold on to resentment. That little thing right there is me it's an invitation to becoming, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what typically happens is we go, that was annoying. I can't wait to get out of here. And then I get home and I'm like, let me just put on Netflix because I want to forget about that experience.
Yeah.
Instead of being clear about it and being like, what was that trying to teach me?
Yeah.
What was the opportunity? And even what was the miss? Like, didn't see that pass thrown at me, right?
Yeah.
And then I go watch game film of my day and I'm like, oh, wow. Opportunity to be patient, opportunity to be kind, need to be humble, right?
Oh, completely.
But
Yeah.
don't separate your life out, right?
Mhm.
This is the exciting adventure. This is the whole wayfaring journey. That's what's always happening. And that's what makes great friendships so important, because it's like, how can I not pray for you?
Mhm.
If I know that that's what's happening, is you becoming who God's made you to be and you becoming and that's what we're waking up to, is this more like Tolkien version of being alive, then I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to text you and check in on you. But if I think we're all just sitting around scrolling until we die, I'm probably not going to check in on you. How's he doing? I don't know. I don't even know how I'm doing. No, it doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what life becomes if we take out
True.
that.
Yeah.
It's so true. Yeah, it's definitely this sense of like, whenever I'm feeling in my head or like literally anything we've talked about, I think just connecting with life is such a big solve. And in that same place where they were talking about Asadia, is that right? They talk about how in prayer and in action, that's like one of the best solves, is just getting out there and getting yourself out of your brain. And like whether it's like hands-on work and you do like an art project, or you go outside and you garden, or just like creating something with love and with that creation of God in mind, and you're just very much present in that moment. I read that in that article and I was like, I need to do that more often. Like I need to get back into like doing things I enjoy other than filling my precious time with like just sitting on Netflix or sitting on TikTok. And not to pass on Netflix, I really do enjoy my movie time. I'm not going to pass on
100%.
but
Yeah.
you know, there's an excess of too much, or too much of anything is bad.
Yeah.
And
That's
in
all.
its proper place, in its right ordering.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. What a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much easier to like sit on the couch and watch Netflix, you know, when you get home from work, instead of going for a run, going to the gym. Like Jared wrote that in his email. He was like, it's so much better. He's like, what's better, me going to the gym when I get off work, or me taking a nap because I'm tired from my day? And it's like, me going to the gym, that's going to be better all day. But taking a nap is also beautiful in the right moment. But if you're getting home from work every day and you're like, let me take a nap, probably not the healthy way.
Yeah, I loved his writing too. Shout out to Jared.
Yeah,
he's not here, but he's still here with that.
Good, yeah.
At the end of it, he said like even just like a good glass of wine with a friend, and like that's like the best, because it's like it's getting you in the moment. I mean, it's just one glass, it's nothing crazy, and you just get into good conversation. And it's a way, because after work, I can tell you the amount of times I've sat and watched Netflix and I'm like just letting my brain just not think about anything. But yesterday, I actually sat with my mom and we're just like having a glass and we were just talking. And I can attest that was like 10 million times better than just watching my Scandal episodes.
Yeah.
Such a good show.
I think maybe it's a great opportunity to kind of turn it to that, because I think we've got clarity on, I hope, the symptoms, right? And everybody's feeling them. The source of those symptoms is that failure to become, losing sight of the aim of what our life is actually meant to be, right? It's not just we live to work for the sake of work or get a job. That's not the story. The story is much richer than that. And then I think that's a great segue to say these regular habits and practices of keeping, fixing our eyes, like waking up early, setting that intention and that vision early in the day, remembering that we're always in that state of becoming. We talk about vision out being like, look with him, see what Jesus sees. And that's a moment by moment in the now thing. And he sees in this beautiful commingled way where at every moment, like, what's good here? What can I be grateful for? What can I be thankful for? What can I enjoy? What can I say yes to? Ask that question. That's always a great question. Even when I'm sitting at my desk and I'm bored and I just want to like scroll, put that down for a second and say, what can I celebrate right now? What's good? What can I say yes to or enjoy in my actual being and say thank you to God for? And then what's broken? What needs attention, intercession, a little bit of compassion? Move toward that thing. Where can I participate and like be a part of some moving the story forward or encouraging someone else along? Those are a couple great ways, but I think you also mentioned like be together with real people. And that sounds so cliche, but I think that noonday devil and that getting separated out and isolated from others, and solitude is different, right? There's times where solitude is beautiful and rich and wonderful, but just that easy hiding and being isolated, not good, right? And so be connected to other people, be in your physical body, like get out and move.
Yeah.
Do you guys do that regularly? Like, have you found a practice that's helped you like be active?
Yeah, I just joined a gym. It's
Good.
really exciting, guys. I love the Stairmaster. I'll sit on that thing for 20 minutes and then I'll sit in the sauna for 10. And I feel great. I do it every night after work. It's such a great way to release frustrations, be in the moment, listen to music or a podcast, and then I head home and I eat a good dinner, and then I had my glass of wine with my mom.
Yeah.
So that's a great way. It's short, it's easy, super cheap to join a gym, but other people will go outside. I mean, going outside, I feel like in your book you talk about that, how just being outside and like touching grass is like even a great way to just, if you don't want to be super active, you can literally just lay outside in the grass.
Yeah, my roommate and I, we've been going on walks this year, like at night, like 8:30 before, we get ready for bed. It's like, hey, let's go for a walk. Let's take the dog for a walk. And we just walk a couple miles and enjoy Bayshore and the beauty of it, and just get to spend time together and be outside compared to us sitting on the couch and, watching Netflix every night. Instead we're getting out, being active, and, forcing. I feel like Netflix, it's great, but you don't really talk when you're watching TV, or at least you're not supposed to, because that's annoying. So going for a walk, it's like forcing you to talk, forcing you to be outside and like see like God's beauty out there compared to the comfort of a couch, which is nice in the right context.
Right. Time and
Another
place.
really simple one that you've taught me is make your bed and then clean your room, and sort of that order that you create starts to extend into the rest of your life. Then it goes into the kitchen and you do your dishes, and then into work. My code's a little cleaner once all those things are done, and then when you're done, you come home, you go to your room, and everything is where it should be. And it's just it's very powerful, the environment of where you live in, and everything wants to descend into chaos, so you have to take the action.
I like that.
And when ordering doesn't become, that's what I love. I'm proud of you for going for a walk, because these are creaturely things to do. That's what technology is beautiful. It's a tool, but it's meant to serve us and to aid us in these things that are creaturely things to do. When we subcontract the entirety of our lives to technology, then we've lost what it is to be human. And so it's like, well, I don't need to walk. I don't need to eat. I don't need to do dishes. I literally don't need to do anything. I can just lay here and scroll. Yeah. That's not what we were made to be as creatures. We were made to move. We have bodies that were designed to move, and they only move by act. We have this saying, it's only true if it's true. Like, go walk. You're a human. You're made to move. Your body's made to breathe. Yeah. You're made to use your hands and your imagination and to order things beautifully. and to do it in a way that they're productive and fruitful. And
Yeah.
that's what it is to be a human. I love that. And that's when making bed isn't a chore. It's not like, oh, why do I have to do? It's like, that's what I was made to be. I was made to make beds, and I was made to make my sleeping bed. I was made to make my flower bed. I was made to make things look pretty on plates and share them with neighbors. That's what we were made to. We're remarkable creatures, us humans. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we could be really awesome. I know I kind of dissed them a little bit ago, but I love people. I really do. It's funny because I say, oh, they're so distracting, but they're so distracting because I love them. Like, it can be so consuming getting
Sure.
to know people. People are awesome. I mean, it's like there's a pool of so much every person you encounter. I'm so deep tonight, guys.
Mm-hmm.
No, but and I love you guys.
Well, and the solitude is the counterbalance to that, right?
Yeah.
Like if you were going to love well and you're going to pour out well and you're going to go for walks and talks with a friend, you're going to need to inhale and exhale, right? Like you're going to need solitude to come and get back to that place where you're full again so that you can pour out again. And that's beautiful, right? And that's a habit and practice of saying no and being able to be like, you know what, I'm good. I'm going to go to bed tonight.
Yeah.
That feels Malaise-ish. We should get out. And it's like, no, what I need now to become who I was made to be is a good nap.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Well, this has been very helpful for me because I have been just feeling that definitely a bit. And I've learned this before. We've talked about it. We've been talking about it for years. And I still constantly get that. It still creeps back in every time. So it's definitely a never ending battle on the journey. But it's encouraging to be reminded. Yeah. And I hope it was for you guys too. I think that's a wrap.
Yeah. That's it. And the key, like, you're not alone. If you're listening to this, one thing I wanted everybody to hear is we're feeling it too. And I think that's our hope, is that there's a connection made. So reach out if you're thinking about it, struggling tonight, provoked a question, even take the step to send us a question. That'd be awesome.
Subscribe, like, share.
That too.
That too. Details.
Come to the Wayfarer Tampa.
Yeah, if you're
Come to the
local,
event.
we'd
Come
love
to
see
worship night.
you. Yeah,
Worship
that
night.
this week?
Yeah,
That's
January
coming up.
31st, worship night, and then the next Wayfarer Tampa, where we're talking about Malaise, is February 7th. So, Buddy
yeah.
Brew.
If you're local, come
Yeah.
be at Buddy Brew, and we'll talk about it there together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Be good. All right.
Love it.
Never alone.
Walk on.